What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another Angle of Pursuit podcast, your fantasy football and football, sports betting, and NASCAR home over at fakepigskin.com. I am your host, Kyle Robert. You follow me on Twitter at NotoriousKRO. With me, as always, is Brian Twining. Brian, we finally got one of our drivers to cash a ticket for us. Party Marty Truex, top three. We told everyone we tweeted him out. Not so much success for me. I had Kurt Busch top five. He finished sixth because, of course, Brad Keselowski dominates this track on a yearly basis. Barely gets top 10. My guys finished the race, so I guess I should be happier. But how you doing? And we got more NASCAR to talk.
Yeah, I mean, just to stick with Atlanta real quick, it did not help that Kurt Busch got pushed all the way to the back of the field before the race even started, and he had to serve like a pass-through penalty. So he began the race a lap down, and for him to even get up to where he did was amazing.
Yeah,
so that didn't help you.
I do like the fact that the drivers that I'm backing, the people that I'm excited about, are actually performing somewhat well. And even if they're not cashing tickets yet, I feel like my process is working, and I'm backing guys that should be successful. And hopefully, the more we grind, the more we do this, the better our results will be over the next few races.
Yeah, I mean, I also saw it with this race with the picks that I had, with Clint Boyer, Eric Jones, and we saw Martin Truex finish top three. But both those other two guys were running in the top 10 during both of the first two stages, and so we're definitely hitting our stride with what we're doing here.
Yeah, for sure. And if you are enjoying our NASCAR content, make sure you are subscribing below. Make sure you are thumbs-upping the video. It really does a lot to get our content spread to different people, everybody can find use for it. As well as on fakepigskin.com, I'm writing up a few drivers every week. So you can go to Fake Pigskin, check that out, and see if there's other stuff I like there. Me and Brian will do this. This week we have two races, and we're heading to Martinsville, we're heading to Virginia, and we're checking out the Blue-Emu Maximum Pain Relief 500. Shout out to NASCAR for just the most wildly reckless names. I love it.
I feel like NASCAR is the real life basketball sponsor.
Yeah. I don't know how these companies have this much money. I feel like this is something I would see on an infomercial at 2 o'clock in the morning. But they got Mark Martin doing it. They got, I think, Rusty Wallace maybe. I don't know. They got some drivers. They got some money, and here we are sponsoring a race. Maybe the Angle of Pursuit can sponsor a race next year.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like it's that expensive. So, but let's dive into it. Let's talk about our favorite option at 10-1 or lower, because Brian, I want to talk about the race, and obviously we're going to hit on some numbers. We're going to tell you about some of the drivers. We've already seen line movement throughout the day. A couple of the guys that we were talking about just a couple hours ago, we were excited. We were prepping. We were getting all the stuff ready to go, and now lines are moving. Things are changing. So it's always in flux. But if we want to talk favorite options, 10-1 or lower. I'm going to start with my boy, Party Marty Truex. You were backing him last week. I'm going back to the well this week. It's a short number, and we had talked about, we typically like to have a little more bang for our buck, but it really seems like, especially at this track, you're going to want to be in that upper echelon and investing a little more in shorter odds. Truex obviously had the top three last week, has been running really well the past few races, been in the mix a lot. He's also really done really well at Martinsville. He has a win and two more top fives at this track over the last 4 years, and trailed only Brad Keselowski for most laps led at the Martinsville Speedway. So a guy that has comfort there, has success. And is one of 4 drivers over the past 4 years to win here. So a guy, even despite his short number, he's the second best, second shortest odds at plus 550, plus 150 for a top 3. I still think it's worth a look. I still think it's worth an investment, just because even if you're putting $10, I mean, you're $55, and building a bankroll on a guy that has been running well, that has success at this track. I think it's a good way to look.
Yeah, I think that it's going to be really important too to be going towards guys that are running really well, especially at a shorter track like Martinsville. Being, part of the problem is that these guys aren't going to have very much room to make passes, and pit row is going to be a difficult situation to navigate for guys. And we saw Martin Truex's team just kill it on Sunday to keep him in the race all the way to the end to get him in that top 3 finish. So yeah, Truex, he's rightfully so one of the favorites.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the starting grid right now. It just came out. Martin Truex will be starting in the 5th spot, so up among the top.
On the inside lane too.
Yeah, and I think that's part of what's also helped contribute to some of the line movement. Let's keep it moving, and let's talk about a driver that you backed, that you're going to back, that I'm a big fan of this week, and a number that took a huge. I don't know if people just have been pounding it or they got the right move from the right better, but Denny Hamlin, we were both really excited about him. Opened at 9-1, it's down to a 6.5-1, so that's a significant move in this race. We saw a similar move from Alex Bowman last week, so it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the right move. But talk to me about Hamlin and your excitement, because I'm right there with you.
Yeah, I mean, I was really excited when I saw his number this morning after doing a little research on his history at Martinsville, and he's one of the more well-known drivers as well. So he's been around the block. He's got a win here in 2015. He's led over 100 laps at this track. Last year in both the races, he finished top 5 in both of those races. He's finished in the top 10 in this race. I think it's 5 times, not including his victory in 2015. And when I saw the number at 9-1, I was like shocked. And unfortunately for me, I was at work, so I didn't get a chance to make a wager on that. But yeah, when I got home and we were chatting prior to the recording, it jumped up pretty high. So obviously pundits that are a lot smarter about NASCAR than we are hammering this number. And I would assume he's got a good starting spot as well.
Let me pull up the starting grid. Denny Hamlin is starting 12th.
That's 6 rows back.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not like he's starting way up at the front, and that really helped lead. But yeah, I mean, he has success at this last 4 trips, 3 top 5s. And for those of you that don't know or are new to betting NASCAR, Martinsville is unique because it's they hit it twice a year. It's usually March, April, and then they hit it again right in the middle of the NASCAR playoffs, usually around October. So there's a lot of familiarity, a lot of times ran on this track for a lot of these drivers, and even some of the young guys, they'll do it in the the Xfinity race or the Truck Series. So they have experience at this track. So while they are not doing qualifying and practice and stuff, there is some understanding of where the track is and how to run it and where they can be most effective. So that's something to keep in mind when you're figuring out who you like, and whether it's DFS or betting or whatever. But yeah, I love the Hamlin call at plus 650. I'm still probably going to take a nibble on it just because it's Wednesday. There's nothing else going on. I think he's a driver that has, like you said, has success, has done well at this track, and still feels like a decent value. And I want to kind of talk about it before we get into some of the other names, because there's obviously names that we like. There's 2 names that are kind of perplexing to me, and I'm feeling, well, one of them I feel better about, which is Kevin Harvick. He's been on fire. He's been running really well, but he's had lack of success at this track. He's started 37 races, has only 1 win, and only has 5 top 5s. He has been better of late with 4 straight top 10s but only 1 top 5 over those last 4 races. His number started at like 10-1. and it was right there with Denny Hamlin. Now he's 11-1. Hamlin jumped up significantly, so I feel better, and I feel like my head is kind of in the right place. And then the other one is Joey Logano, and that number is actually trending in the opposite direction, which he has success at this track. He's been performing well, but since NASCAR restarted, he has not looked good. He only has one top 10. Wait, hold on. He's one of 4 drivers to win at this track over the last 4 years, so that's a good sign. But since NASCAR restarted, he has finished in the top 10 only once, or only half of the 6 races, and has no top 5s. I know you're a Logano guy. You backed him a couple times. Do you think that he's ready to break out and have a big race and maybe win this week, or do you think he's kind of got some stuff to figure out now that NASCAR's restarted, and maybe his car or his pit crew is one that really benefits from the practice and from the pre-stuff as they learn, okay, this is how we adjust the car. They're really good at adjusting. But when they're just diving in and here you go, get on the track, they don't tend to do as well.
Yeah, that's kind of something what I think has been a big problem for him, because I've noticed the last 3 races that I've played, pretty close attention to, he seems to have been making a lot of adjustments during the race. And I know every driver is making slight adjustments throughout the race, depending on how the track is responding and all that kind of stuff. But his are more like they're trying to find the groove of the car, and it is difficult. And you do see it on the track. Like he'll make a push towards the front, and then it's when he has fresh tires, and then when he starts to get a little bit looser, the car just kind of takes a dump on itself. Mm-hmm. So, I was looking at Logano in this race because of his past success, but just with the most recent kind of races that he's been in and his lack of success in those, he's not somebody that I would be looking at, putting down any moolah this weekend.
He is in the 3rd position, so he's starting near the front, which is a nice opportunity for him to kind of start there, run hot, and kind of do well as he has at this track. But I'm with you. It's an avoid for me, especially at that price tag. I'd rather go up and get Truex. I'd rather go up and get Hamlin, or I'd rather come back and get one of the guys I really like this week. And probably you'll be hearing his name when we talk about best bets in a few minutes. That's Mr. Ryan Blaney, 10-1 this week. I love his odds. Obviously, recent form, last 6 races, 3 top 5s, 11th best average finish, 10th most laps led, been running really well, and has a lot of success at Martinsville. Over the last 4 races, 6th best average finish, including 3 top 5s. So 4 races, 3 top 5s, been in the conversation. I'm a big fan of Blaney, and I think I'm going to back him again this week at that 10-1 price tag.
Yeah, he was another guy that I was looking at as him and Hamlin. I think for me are like my 2 favorite drivers this Wednesday at Martinsville, just with kind of like how well they've both been racing in this season, and the fact that Blaney also has a decent amount of success at this track. So I love that pick with Ryan Blaney, and I know you're going back to the well once again with him. So we'll see how that works out.
I feel like I keep saying the same names, and we'll see. Eventually, it's got to kick, right? Like I can't keep striking out. But
I don't know. You never know, man.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Beyond them, is there anybody you're looking at as kind of a longer shot, a guy that maybe not even like to win the outright, but maybe a top 5 or a top 3 or maybe even a top 10 if the number is right? Because I know there's one that's off the top of your tongue.
Yeah, the guy I'm looking at is Eric Almirola. It's he's kind of somebody that is a shot in the dark during this race, but I mean he's finished in the top 18 5 of the last 6 times he's raced at Martinsville. He has 2 top 12s in that span. dude, prior to the last 4 races, had finished top 10, three of the previous 4, and top 12 in all 4 of those races. So he was running really well coming into these last 4. And kind of the opposite that I feel about Joey Logano. I feel like he's just kind of he just kind of needs the right track, and I really think that this kind of track, it's a little bit shorter. I think his driving style kind of fits to what you need at here, and he could make a push to finish top 10. So I like him as a top 10 bet, and I'm waiting to see what those odds are.
Yeah, like right now for a top 3, when we use DraftKings Sportsbook for all these odds, so if you want to follow along, make sure you check that out. But 10-1 for a top 3, top 5 will probably be about half that, and then but I mean, if you're looking at 2 or 3 to 1 for a top 10 bet, I think that's something that would definitely interest me. I think it's something that if you're watching this on Tuesday, you'll probably have a good idea. I'm sure those numbers are trickling out. But as of recording, we only have winners in top 3. So that's where our heads are at. I did have, Jimmy Johnson is interesting to me. He's a guy that has had success at Martinsville, but it's been a long time. 9 wins.
I think he's just old.
Yeah, well, and maybe it's he's on his victory lap and he's going to retire, and maybe at this point he's just ready to retire. Although it's weird because he doesn't feel that much older than like Kevin Harvick, and Harvick's still absolutely dominating races. So, but it could be a mental thing. It could be just he's kind of ready. But he's had a lot of success. 36 starts, 9 wins, 19 top 5s. Unfortunately, it's been a while since he has been successful. And he's been kind of in the mix a little bit, but never really feel like he's gonna win the race.
I was gonna say he doesn't seem threatening at all.
No. It's very like Dirk Nowitzki's final year. Like he's out there, he's doing stuff, he's having fun, but you never really feel like he's gonna take over in the fourth quarter and kind of kill it. So, Brian, before we get out of here, let's talk best bets. Where's your head at? Where are you going?
I'm going to go with another top 3, and that's going to be Denny Hamlin, top 3, currently plus 175.
Yep.
He's my favorite to win the race for me, so I'll probably be placing some money on him to win the race. But finishing top 3 here, I think, is a safe bet for Denny Hamlin.
Yeah. Hamlin's a guy that I will definitely be backing on Wednesday. I'm going to go do the same thing with Ryan Blaney, top 3, plus 275. I like having that wiggle room. I like, if someone happens on that last couple laps to sneak up there and you're racing, and I'd rather have a little extra insurance, even if it means a third of the price. I just to have 3 times the opportunity to win, and with just like Martin Truex with you last week, as dominant as he was, as good as it looked like he would get the outright, having that secondary bet helped kind of cover your expenses and made it a winning day instead of losing everything. So like I said, I will be backing Hamlin, I will be backing Blaney, but my best bet is definitely Blaney for top 3.
Yeah, that's a great bet. And real quick on Martin Truex, I had one of those kind of like happy yet angry moments at the end of that race, because I had selected Truex versus Busch, and just over the last, I think it was 4 laps, Truex got loose in turn 4, and Busch was able to pass him up. But it was still good. But it is good to kind of hedge. If you're going to bet somebody to win, go with the top 3 or top 5. Just so you can get that money, like you had said, just in case. Or
check out those head-to-heads, because I almost bet a couple against William Byron, who ended up crashing out, and I felt like an idiot afterwards because that would have been free money. But yeah, there's opportunities where if you really like a driver for a course, even if they don't win, even if they don't get top 3, you can do some head-to-heads, and sometimes you can find value against names like a Jimmy Johnson, like a Kyle Busch, and sometimes you can get some value there. So that's another way to look that if you don't want to, the 10 to 1 for 15 to 1 paydays are nice, but sometimes those plus 140s or plus 200s, those pay, and those are nice too. Brian and I will be back to talk Sunday's race. Should be up, I believe, on Friday. So make sure you are subscribed so you